Ready? Here we go.
Different points of view and highs and lows. A new perspective everywhere you go. Open up your mind, drown out the noise, and see if this connected. And see if this connected.
So what's up, folks? This is the time where we are actually going back to doing these things live in person. And what else to do it with than producer Tony? You know, today I'm going to say that we are going to let producer Tony out of the closet. So I'm going to introduce to you my guest, my personal friend right here, producer Tony. So come on out of the closet, Tony. Look. There you go. He's destroying our podcast studio. There he is. Look, he even came out with a shirt because that is where we keep our shirts.
Water.
Well, we don't have water today. We don't have water today because today is a day of celebration. We're actually celebrating with wine. Let's toast. Clink.
I got a happy meal too.
And I got him a happy meal because you know what? You got to celebrate. Today is our bronniversary.
Is this clean?
I don't know. You picked it up. Whatever's in that closet is in that closet. But how is it living in my closet?
I'm clean.
Better be clean. My wife would kill you if you were dirty in there. This is
What?
This is a Catholic show. But today we are eating dinner together with wine and something that is holy because I'm having cheeseburgers from the Golden Arches. Oh, and Tony has like chicken McNuggets.
What you mean?
Which is, I don't know, are those really made from chicken?
No,
it's
made from goodness.
But Tony, I was actually gonna let you, like before, I was gonna say, I was gonna do a knock joke. So knock.
Who's there?
Snow.
Snow who?
Snow use. I forgot the punchline. I don't think we have crickets, but I'm gonna put the crickets in there later. Yeah, I am so glad that you joined me for this podcast, and now it's like live. We're like right in each other's faces, which is really awkward because we've been doing this thing always on Zoom, and kind of like it's really cold. But the one thing that I've been finding out because of all the closures are there's so many more restaurants open. Like at my work, which you probably would know, it's like in San Bernardino, they opened up a new Dairy Queen. I love Dairy Queen. They have that drink that, they mix it and then they turn it upside down and it doesn't fall out. But I got a milkshake from there the other day. And, when you're out there, there's like hills. And so I had my lunch on the hills and had my milkshake there by a cliff. And dude, it was legendary. What?
Oh, was that the end of the story?
That was my dad joke.
It was a great story.
Yeah. And Tony, you do dad jokes. Tony does great dad jokes. He does. He does dad jokes. But I just have to say that people who say dad jokes who aren't really dads yet, it's kind of like weird. It's like, I think that's called a faux pas. All right, enough jokes. This is what happens when you get together for like the first time in over like a long time.
You don't know how to operate.
Don't know how to operate. It's like this is like awkward. I'm looking at you, but then I'm looking at the camera.
I was gonna say, are we looking at each other or are we looking at the camera?
I have no idea. This is the first time because before we just didn't have a camera, so we would just look at each other.
Oh, that's right.
But whose fault is that?
That is definitely the person that sleeps in the closet.
That is his fault because before I used to be able to be comfortable in myself, not being able to be seen because it was only on audio. But this guy decided to put it on that YouTube channel. And now I have to comb my hair.
That's true.
And
did you do your makeup?
I'm a little shiny. But we did. My wife said
Powder.
powder. I gotta sneeze. I have tissue. But gotta make sure that we know that even though that
Why is this bell here?
this bell does not work. You broke my bell?
I was hoping you didn't notice. All I did was tap it once.
Broke my bell.
Isn't that what you're supposed to do to a bell and tap it?
There's a bell. This is like, do I have another bell? It's actually, you didn't break this bell because we have this other bell. So the bell is there to tell us time's up or I'm talking too much and Tony wants to say something, he can just ring the bell.
I love this idea.
Yeah, so he can ring the bell. It's not like I'm going to shut up or anything or give him an opportunity to speak.
No, but it'll give me some sense of.
So that's how it is. If you want to talk, you just got to ring the bell. Cover the bell. So anyways, I have no idea what we're doing because this is 1 year. I just want to tell you folks that in our bronniversary, it's been 1 year since I met you. Actually, a little bit over 1 year. Because we met during a Valentine's Day. I think if you guys listen to the other podcast, we met during Valentine's. Very romantic.
It was really romantic.
It was really romantic. Oh, this is awkward. Because my wife prepared spaghetti today and meatballs and Bethany.
We're in a small table.
We're at a small table and we're going to present and I was like, Tony wanted to like eat the spaghetti together. And I'm like, no, I know how that ends. We're not going there.
You've seen Lady and the Tramp.
I've seen Lady and the Tramp and I'm not a tramp and you're not a lady.
This is true. Thank you
This is so awkward. This is the Catholic radio show.
Oh my God.
Disconnected Catholic show.
I do want to say this. Does it count that we actually met each other at that time? Because we didn't talk to each other because I'm again antisocial. The way we met, that was kind of like when you add someone on Facebook when you just met them at a party and you never even saw them, you never knew them, and you add them and you're like, oh, we're friends now. It's like, well, we saw each other from a distance at a party. That's kind of like how we met,
True.
if we count that. But when was it that you followed me? You had to follow me. I followed you.
You followed me, and I
because you announced you. Yeah. No, because you announced it. No, because he announced it after his talk. He did that classic promoting himself. So I was like, I want to, he shamelessly promoted himself. So I wanted to follow.
Yeah, and I was like, ooh, that was weird.
Yeah,
because I never had followers before. I never like people who usually just come follow you are like the people you're serving in your ministry.
Oh, people that actually know you.
People that actually know you. And it's like, oh my gosh, these people. I mean, it's like, who are these people? And can you trust them? I mean, they're from the high desert. Just kidding. High desert people. They're nice people, especially those ones in Barstow. You know who you are, Jaime.
Bearded man.
Shout it out to the bearded man. But yeah.
But then what happened after I followed you? That's the question.
Wasn't it? Didn't you ask me?
No.
Didn't ask me?
Absolutely not. You don't remember?
Did I ask you?
You asked me. I recorded a video. Not that I do that.
Did you say yes?
Yeah. What had happened was that you reached out to me. I uploaded a video about the pandemic. So this was like around maybe I recorded a video about the pandemic the day after we found out that he's like trying not to chew in the mic. The day after we found out that we were on lockdown. And I was talking about a video about like what is the plan of attack essentially in 60 seconds, which is not possible. But and then you shared that video to me and said, would you like to do a podcast episode on this with further detail or something like that? And I said, sure. And I was like, I don't know this guy, but that would be cool. So really, I think out of the two gestures, following the person after they asked the whole crowd, or sending someone a DM, which one would be a little more weird?
It would be him.
It would be me. Yeah. And what was fun,
It's not like I'm gonna own up to it.
no. But what was fun is when, and I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, is when we did that first episode, which was live,
That was true.
that was the first time we had ever talked.
Yeah.
Legitimately.
Literally, we did it live on a phone
On Instagram.
on Instagram.
And that was the first time I had ever talked with you, period. Not just in a podcast, period. I was like, I don't know what to expect. And I remember when okay, this is what we were actually just talking about different podcast styles. And I didn't know what to expect with this podcast because I only had watched a few episodes. And, you know, every episode's different with a different guest. So I was taking it very theologically.
Oh, please.
Yeah. And then I realized, oh, this guy.
Yeah.
No.
This is like, this would be as theological as like the disciples with Jesus going, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, preach, Jesus,
Yeah, what you said.
what you said.
Yeah.
But theologically speaking, yeah, if you guys have continued to listen to this podcast, this is not Father Barron. It is not Matthew Zemenik. Shout out to Matt Zemenik. Love his show. Man of Food for Thought. Follow him and follow us. But and all of those. But I am, you know, as you realize that I'm a regular Joe. You know, I like to just have fun with the faith. You know, and when we find and we experience life with others, you know, it all comes out from this, the Catechism of the Catholic Church. I lovingly call the Incredible Green Hulk, big green. See, this is bad when you're podcasting and eating. Whose idea was this to have a dinner podcast?
I think we're just gonna say everything's my fault. So
pretty much,
it's definitely my
because
fault.
your producer Tony from outside the closet.
Yeah.
Because you end up burping.
And chewing.
And chewing, and this is going to be, folks, you're going to hear a lot of chewing in this, so if that is like a phobia of yours, well, as Bethany would say, offer it up. So I was going to say, you know what, I was going to joke about COVID, but it was like a little too soon. Yeah. Plus,
Considering we're still in there.
yeah,
We're still in the middle of it.
plus it would probably take at least 2 weeks before you got it. Too soon? Yeah. I'm just saying. I'm just gonna let it all out there. Yeah. Just saying.
Didn't you want to regularly eat and podcast with people? Isn't that the goal?
That was the
Do
goal.
you see the
we
problems we're running into?
yeah. But we did that. I think I did. I wanted to do live podcasts at restaurants, and we did that once with Tony. No, not Tony. Anthony Miley, where we talked about how is it to be Black, which is not the topic we're going to talk about, because you know one of the hard things, Tony, that I had a hard time with is when listeners want us to tackle social issues or issues that are really difficult. I have a hard time with those because it's not me, and it becomes awkward for me. And if you've listened to some of the podcasts where we've done that, I sound really awkward.
Really? I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
No, like sincerely.
I sincerely feel it because you know, because there's mixed feelings. I always feel like you're either going to insult or offend one side, or you're going to offend another side. And I've experienced that. I've seen that where some people have stopped following you, or stopped commenting, or even unfollowed you, and you haven't heard from them because one, you didn't take a strong enough stance, or you didn't post about this, or you didn't comment on this. And so I try to avoid some of those really issues, because I think when someone asks me about those, I say, you know what, there's other podcasts. that really tackle that.
But you still have tackled them. So why did you tackle those? You still tackled a few.
I still did a few. I had, in every single one of the podcasts, I really have to do it, and I have to pray about it and discern it. Is this something that we can share? And usually it's because somebody had come and they want to be on the podcast, and they want to share that. It's never something that's like, oh, I want to do this. Let me find someone to do it with. It's always someone's like,
Never.
Hey, you know what? I'd like to do this. And so if that's something that you want to do on the show and you want to share it, bring it up. I hardly ever say no. Again, as Catholics, as Christians, we have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable and being real. So maybe one day, I'll get more fortitude and courage to actually tackle those. But
something that I always call to mind, because fun fact, guys, he still brings. I'm in those conversations of him saying, "What do you think? Do you think this is a good topic?" A lot. I'm definitely in there, and I don't feel comfortable with those. Anything that's going to bring any sort of backlash, or is like, it's hard to find the moral line of when it becomes immoral and all this. I'm very uncomfortable with it, and I always think of a video that Father Mike Schmitz has shared, and summing it up, and it's not going to give it justice, but summing it up, he basically talks about the idea of, if you can actually not have an opinion to something because you might not know enough to have an opinion. And I think this is what this culture doesn't really understand, this society doesn't understand. You shouldn't, there are things that you shouldn't be commenting on if you don't know enough on the said thing. And I feel like I took that to heart, especially. I kind of already thought that before, but especially after that video, I was like, I'm very ignorant when it comes to politics in general, which is why you don't see me post anything about politics, not strictly because it becomes diversive, but because I don't know it. So therefore, I can't formulate an opinion. When people ask me, it's like, I don't know. It's that simple.
And it's okay to say no. I tell young people, it's okay to say no. It's kind of like the same thing when someone confronts you about your faith and you don't know the answer. Don't get up in an uproar and get upset and start spouting off things that may be not true. Just say, you know what, I don't know, but let me get back to you, or just say, you know what, I'm uncomfortable with that topic. And when someone says something like that, where I'm uncomfortable with that topic, that doesn't mean that they're siding with the opposite side. That just means I'm really uncomfortable with that topic, because it just is. We're uncomfortable with confrontation.
You know what we also have to do? We have to, and this is just generally speaking, we have to get better at just not having subtext. Like, this is why I'm saying that I'm comfortable, because I am uncomfortable. That's why I'm saying it. I'm not like, oh, because I have some ulterior motive. Just say the truth. Say so what you actually feel.
And he speaks with his arms and hands, and when he has his arms closed like this, that means that, hey, when he's closed.
I actually never believe in the body language thing, because I've experienced it to be untrue.
Yeah, our censor is watching. Bethany is censoring this podcast. She's out here, to make it legitimately Catholic. She has her arms crossed.
She definitely reads me like a book.
Yep. He's allergic to eggs.
Yeah. So, she read that on me. Yeah. I didn't tell her.
Easter is bad because when they do egg colorings, he has to color plastic eggs.
That's right.
Because he's allergic to eggs.
That's right. That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, my kids are not gonna like me.
Nope. And you're always gonna miss out on those deviled eggs. Delicious.
Catholic.dad's favorite. I don't want devil.
Loves deviled eggs. Deviled eggs. Extra relish. Tabasco. Yes.
When's your birthday? On a related note?
September 21st. Yes, I'm a Virgo.
Oh yeah, that's right. Your guys' birthday.
Right? That's how we get along. It's like, perfectionists.
Can't relate. Cannot relate.
By the way, Virgo, it's astrology. Just want to say, because our censor says it's not Catholic. I don't believe in that.
We don't want to get
but
canceled.
It's just fun. Yeah. Don't want to get canceled. No Catholic cancel culture here. No. Where were we? We did plan something, right?
Yeah. Did you want to look at that?
We probably should, but it is 1 year. 1 year.
Mhm.
Did we do? Um, this whole year has been just. This is even like. This is so much fun for me
To actually
because
talk over each
to
other.
actually talk over each other.
Did you say
Because
that's what you missed?
yeah, that's really what I missed because podcasting on Zoom, you had to wait for the other person to finish. Yeah,
Mhm.
it was kind
That's
of
the
like,
purpose.
yeah, it was. I never pictured it that way in
Mhm.
podcasting because I always have this image of when you podcast, it's kind of like the Last Supper, uh, where Jesus and Peter was there and talking over Matthew, and Matthew's going, "Ugh, there he goes again, that stinking fisherman, thinking he knows it all," and you know, beloved John is like, "I'm just here with Jesus," and Thomas is like, "Where are we? Am I late?" Um, but
You know what's funny is when you explain this, I picture that you have a picture of
I
how it looks
do.
in your mind,
It's like Judas
like
is there,
all
like
cartoony or something.
counting the coins and like spilling the wine, and it's like, all right. So welcome back, folks, after that short break to listen to our
Hopes and dreams
hopes
die.
and dreams die, and also our promoting our sponsors, which we don't have. But if you want to sponsor this podcast, just hit us up at Catholic.dad 50 at
Gmail.com.
gmail.com. Yeah, that's why he's here. He's still young. I'm old.
We do accept Venmo, Catholic.dad. Dot
Yeah.
spelled out DOT.
DOT. Yeah. And we also accept PayPal. So
And Patreon. if you
and
wanna be a
Patreon.
patron.
That is one of the things that I think, Tony, that we need to share is, there is a cost in doing the podcast, little minor cost, and there we need patrons, so join us in being a patron. As little as $1 per month can go a long way. So help us by being a patron. Also, the mission of the podcast was to help people, so the podcast will be using that money to help other youth and other youth ministers to be able to do certain things that they want to do, because and they can't because of budget. Budget's always an issue with ministry. I hate that. You would think, like, you
Rain
become
would just
Catholic and
fall from the sky.
yeah, like you'd be Catholic and like grace would come falling from the sky, and it does. It's just that it's not that cash grace, right?
It's very true.
So anyways, we're continuing. The reason why we're so awkward right now is because my computer crashed.
Yeah, so in other words, what he's trying to say is give us money so we get Catholic.dad and computer so that doesn't happen again.
Yeah,
That's what he was trying to say.
that was when did we start? Like we literally took 10 minutes of break trying to get my laptop to cool down because it overheated. I think that was the cause. It overheated, or it was jealous that we weren't sharing wine with a computer.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It's one of those two
It's one of
options. Yeah.
Pretty much. But it's tough. That's life being a Catholic,
Dad.
Catholic.dad. And I did want to say that this is my little cheat sheet right here. I wanted to say that because of COVID, I wasn't going to be here today. I was actually going to call you and say, you know what, Tony, I'm going to be late for this meeting, but I made it, and I said to myself, just self-isolate. That didn't make sense, but anyways, knock knock.
Who's there?
I don't know the joke to that
I don't
one.
know the joke.
Yeah,
Who?
that's what happens. Too much wine.
That's what happens. Too much wine.
Yeah. So what's the title of this podcast?
Back in the habit. Or
Back
we're
in the
angels.
habit.
I don't know what it is anymore.
Back in the habit. We're not angels. We're saints. One of those topics. We're going to use that, or we're just going to say, you know what, Tony's coming out of the closet. The 1 year anniversary.
Can someone explain this to me? What's this closet? When did that happen? How did this happen? Why is this a thing?
I don't know. When we met, you were by yourself. You
In a closet.
I went and I told you to say the person next to you. I went and gave a talk to group of young adults, and I thought they were couples. And Tony didn't have a couple.
I didn't.
He was a
A
single.
lot has changed this
A
past
lot has
year.
changed. So that's what we're going to talk about.
Let's talk
That's
about
it.
that. Yeah.
Back in the habit. So
Back in
what has changed? In the second segment of this podcast, we actually got to the point where we're actually going to be talking about something. By the way, are we recording? Good, we're recording. You keep an eye on whether or not this computer is going to break down again. Dang thing is old.
This is going great.
All right. So what has changed in the past year for you?
I think the biggest thing that has changed is probably the fact that my attention span is so much worse of all things. And the fact that I have a beard now and I look closer to Arnell than I did a year ago.
Yeah.
But you know how
And he has a better half.
and I do have a better half. I was gonna get there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Anyway, because I noticed like even when I do Bible in a year, that's a habit. I'm actually reading the Bible. Well, I'm not reading the Bible. That would be crazy to talk. But I'm listening to the Bible. And I can't even do a 20, 25 minute, 30 minute without completely zoning out within the first 2 minutes.
Really?
It's very difficult. Like my attention span's very bad.
So what do you
And I'm
do?
always checking my phone. And don't get me wrong, I had that addiction before. I'm not gonna just like, it's the pandemic's fault. I'm a better man than that. But no, it is to an extent like always on your phone. Like it's just so much easy to just get distracted. So I think the biggest habit right now is for me is actually weaning off the phone because a deeper wound is the fact that I'm trying to distract myself. So trying to figure out that. And I do have a significant other. Is that the phrase, significant other?
Is it
I don't know.
SO?
I've been single for so long that I don't know what they're called. But yeah, I actually found someone through the pandemic, which if you want to watch our previous episode that I was on, one of the previous episodes was Wine with the M, where I mentioned that. And she was on it.
Was she?
Yeah.
Was it that time where you were looking for your Catholic queen?
Yeah, there's been so many episodes I've been on.
That you were looking for a Catholic queen.
You know what? Sidebar, I know we're not going in one straight line of a topic, but
We never do.
we never do. So that's actually, I hope this connects. But I really do believe that podcast helped. The podcast, wait, was that a date? Helped because that certain somebody actually said that she listened to the episode to find out what she was getting into. And because I am a honest young lad, whatever she heard, I guess, wasn't a red flag at the very least.
Wow, we should ask her to come on and say, what did he say?
Yeah, we should definitely bring her on. If only she was around.
If only she was around, we could ask her. It's like, what did he say?
I'm purposely not looking at her. Just
No,
know her
purposely,
reaction.
like, what did she say? It's like, how many times do I have to say that? What did he say? But yeah, so you must have said something that resonated with that. So thank you, This Connected Podcast, for putting another relationship together. Cheers.
How many? Wait, cheers.
Cheers. There you go.
Wait, how many relationships has this podcast?
I have no idea, but I know that all three of you guys who were on that podcast, wait, was this a date? All have significant others. Where's the music? Oh, there you go. Love the sound effects of this podcast. And if you actually really want really good sound effects, consider being a Patreon to This Connected Podcast. We really shouldn't do this while drinking wine.
No.
Or maybe we should.
Maybe
if a lot of people
we'll have
listen,
a personality.
if people actually listen to the podcast now because of this, it's the wine. By the way, we are not sponsored by this wine. It's still a rosa. It's not really a wine. It's more like a sweet drink. It's not me.
It's probably the laptop.
Probably the laptop. But anyways, well, was that the only change? Was that only habit? Good habit and bad habit? I know you're spending more time with that significant other. not jealous or anything, but
that's a good habit. That is a very good habit.
try to find him on a Friday or
We're
a Saturday.
recording on a Friday.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, but I don't have him by myself. I mean,
I remember there was the one time Arnell was trying to text me all day, and I was with Bethany the whole time.
right?
And then he said toward the end of the day, "I miss Tony," or "Where's Tony," or something like that. Bethany texts
And
back.
guess who responds? Bethany.
She goes, "I've had him the whole day." It's like this is kind of.
And I was
custody,
like,
custody.
but that's my Tony.
Well, okay. So I think one thing that has changed is I've gotten a lot more virtuous friendships. I did not have. I mean,
Wait,
I had great friends before the pandemic.
I don't know who you guys are.
People are gonna hear this. They're gonna get upset. No, I had great friends, but
Cancel.
yeah, I'm gonna get canceled. But I've gotten more friends that are actively involved in ministry on a more, I guess, I don't know, professional level or a regular schedule. A lot of people that are employed in the church. In other words, a long way of me saying I've met more people within the diocese, youth ministers, and it's actually helped me be a better person because not only like going back to the phone, like I can follow people and like, oh, look at what they're doing. I need to make sure I'm stepping it up. I make sure that I'm posting the right things and being that holy Christian person and being blessed and being third and living a life of holiness and having friends like Arnell is great because it keeps me on check. And I think it's what's really the funniest thing of all that is people don't believe that we've only known each other for a year because
Right?
yeah.
Seems
Because
like
we've
I've known you for 25 years.
Yeah.
Because that's the only amount of time I could know you.
Yeah.
Because you're only 25, 26.
I'm a tiny little baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I feel like we've done a lot in the last year.
We've done a lot, and I think we've not said no enough times in the last year.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Zoom around the world.
That was I was hoping that you weren't going to mention because that was always been on my mind, and I'm like, it's coming up in May.
It is coming up in May.
And actually, that was one of the things that one of the probably the most positive things that came out of COVID in the beginning was Zoom around the world, where we got to meet some really wonderful people. And that was, again, the Holy Spirit, because that was always just like this connected podcast. It's always accidental. Everything that we do is accidental. We never plan anything. So if it sounds like it's planned, you're making a mistake of thinking that. We absolutely do not plan anything. And yeah, so the Zoom around the world coming about, shout out to Father Adam McDonald, who really helped out. And I really looked up their order, and the Divine Word missionaries. They're the 6th largest order in the world, and they are all over the world. So follow Father Adam McDonald. He has 2 other brothers who are also priests.
You think he would come back on?
Yeah, he will definitely come back on. He actually speaks Tagalog. He speaks better Tagalog than I do, a white guy. So I love Father Adam McDonald. I met him. I think one of the blessings that I received from being able to go to Florida for the National Catholic Conference for Catholic Youth Ministers was meeting some really wonderful people. Father Adam McDonald, Sister Josephine Garrett, some of the most wonderful people I met there have come on this podcast. So that's a real blessing. But yeah, Zoom around the world, meeting all those people from Greece, from Spain, from South America, bringing people together, you meeting some other people. Maybe we should bring that back. And I think one of the wonderful things that came out of that, why it was so successful, I think at least, was nobody was using Zoom. And so one of my things that I'm apprehensive about bringing it back was everybody uses Zoom. and it's more of I think Zoom is overused in ministry right now, and everyone has literally um, Zoom
Created
drained.
their own thing.
Yeah,
They've created their own thing on Zoom.
they're just Zoom drained, and I think we need to, if we do Zoom around the world again with Mary, we need to step it up and do something a little bit different, so that at least it's an anniversary year. It's a 1 year anniversary, just like this one. So
Aw.
we'll
We'll get the
brainstorm.
spaghetti. Oh,
Yeah. No, no spaghetti. No.
no, I think it has really helped me. Not only that, but Zoom around the world, because I follow more people. It's kind of a little like a light when I see like that person. Like, I met that person from Zoom around the world, when they come up on my feed and that sort of thing. What are some things that you feel like has changed in the last year, or habits, or
Well, I have that same habit that you do, and I think I waste a lot of my time on my phone. I think that was one of the bad habits with Disconnected, was always trying to put something up, um, something daily, something that was relatable, um, and you're always wondering, it's like, should I or shouldn't I, or should I wait for something from the Lord to post? Um, so
I'm sorry, can I comment on that? I resonate with that completely. And that's why I've slowed down on the videos. Like, I've done like the ones for my ministry, but that's for my ministry. It's different on my stuff, because when I first started, when the pandemic first started, again, I was, like I shared earlier, I uploaded a lot. And it's like this idea of like, what can I do to speak to someone? How can I make this relatable? And I don't know about you, but I feel completely drained at this point of trying to do that. And I don't know if it's because like it's just sucking the
Sucking the life out of
of
you.
me. So it's crazy that you actually said that too.
Yeah.
I think that's a bad habit.
It was a
Yeah.
bad habit because, in a way, I was making it a chore. I was making it a chore instead of an offering to God. I still do, and I sense it when that happens. Where I was like, when I say, I got to do this,
Yeah.
instead of, wow, I got to get up and do this.
Yeah.
I still love my 7 o'clock reflections, because even though it's like, oh, it's just me, I pretend like there's a whole ton of people there. I don't know if you guys are listening, if you ever done that, and you're doing a live and no one's there, and like, of course no one's there. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. Everyone's taking a shower at that time. Sleeping. But there's always some consistent people that are on there, and I appreciate that. But I'm just saying, it's not as much as for the people who are out there who may be listening or watching, but it's more for me. And what I found out was, if I'm doing this for me, for my own personal growth, then hopefully somebody else will watch that, and it's going to be for their own personal growth. One of the habits that I started feeling early on was, how many likes or how many views was there. And halfway through, I came to the realization that it really doesn't matter, because I remember someone telling me one time that even if one person liked it or viewed it, then it resonated with that one person, then that's all you're actually going for. Same thing in ministry. If only one youth showed up, you would still give the talk, and you would still do the one small group, and it would just be one-on-one. It's like, how important would that one individual feel when you gave this one presentation just for that one person? And that person could be the Lord.
Have you ever done a skit with one person there? We've done that.
Really?
Done a full-on skit. It's just one team there. It was like, hey man, we rehearsed this. I memorized these lines. We doing this.
And how important did that person feel? It's like,
she was very honored, I think.
Yeah, it's like that's amazing when someone makes that effort to be there present. I think that's what counts. It doesn't matter how many people are coming to your youth group. It doesn't matter if you have hundreds of people in your parish, or whether you have just a few. Jesus only had 12. I mean, his percentage wasn't that good. And it's like 12, and then you only 11 actually just stayed. One, that Judas. Judas.
Not only that, but the amount of times where he's preaching or a miracle happens, and there's those people that don't believe, even though they physically see it. They see it and they still walk away.
Right?
And then I question myself as a minister, like, oh, my talk didn't speak to them, my worship, whatever, didn't speak to them. Jesus had that. He did.
Yeah, I remember.
He was God himself and still experienced that.
And I remember when you would say that, it's like, and you would be so harsh on yourself. Well, I liked it.
Be like, harsh on myself.
What about me? It's like, I liked it.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not gonna say.
But Tony is a little harsh on himself.
Pray for me.
Yeah.
Pray for me.
Unlike me, I didn't care less about what you guys think. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
But I do like what you said, to avoid burnout, or just like even those little posts and stuff. Do it because it's fruitful for you. Do it because it's feeding you. And if it doesn't feed you in that moment, find something that's spiritual and nurturing. Like, you still have to, what is the analogy, like to put the face mask, the oxygen mask over you first before you can help someone else.
Yeah, on that plane. I think we'd make a good flight attendants.
I think so.
Definitely not pilots.
I think you'll pull off the little vest.
Yeah, I think we'd be good flight attendants. Definitely not pilots, because we'd probably hit something. Or probably we'd get up in the air, but we wouldn't know how to land. That would be an issue. But yeah, that's one of those things, and it boils down to that premise of be blessed, be third. I always said that you have to, when people look at you, your hope is that they see Christ in you, not you. I mean, I know that they see you, but they'll always say, man, it's like, thank you, because you might be the only Jesus that they see.
Yeah, I always say,
and you don't want to give them the Jesus that's like you. It's like, oh, woe is me.
Right.
I don't think Jesus ever went and says, woe is me.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, Jesus said, yeah, stick me on the cross. I'm dying for you.
Yeah, I always say you want to build followers of Christ, not followers of yourself.
Right.
That's why when you have like the cool minister that's like trying to do all the cool trends and consistently and staying up on the cool trends, like, look at me. I mean, you can start building a follower of yourself rather than a follower.
I never had that problem as a youth minister, because I could never be cool. I mean, I'm old. So you know what I surrounded myself with?
Dad joke people.
Cool young ministers. So relate to them. But other habits, I think I am a huge procrastinator, and it's become a bad habit, because I still do. I procrastinate. Another bad habit is my eating habit. For some of you guys who've known me in the past, when I started ministry, I was a marathon runner.
You were?
I was. Look at my marathon.
That's not a joke.
Oh. No, look. Pick that up. Right there. Right there. Pick all that up. These are some of my medals.
Oh,
my
wow.
Los Angeles Marathon, my San Diego Marathon, my Riverside, my Long Beach marathons, full marathons on tap. Right. He's breaking things in the studio. But I used to do. I used to be my moment with God when you would run. You know, you're running 10 miles, 12 miles, 13 miles, and who's going to be there with you but God? And you know, I got into the bad habit of eating ministry pizza and chicken nuggets. And you know, when you get to this age, your metabolism really slows, and yeah, it got really quick. And so, fireworks, folks, not gunshots. We're in Fontana.
Wait, so these habits happened during the pandemic, or are you just talking in general right now?
In general, it was developing, but during the pandemic, because I was sitting a lot and we weren't going out, and we couldn't go out. I actually, during the pandemic, I think I gained about 20 pounds. Yeah, 20 pounds. Yeah. So hopefully by the end of this year, I'll be able to lose that. I still have my bucket list of being able to run the Chicago Marathon. but I need to get to about 165 marathon running weight to be able to do that. I'm not a fast marathoner. I'm like a 3-hour, 58-minute runner. 3 hours and 58 minutes to do 26 miles.
Tony doesn't even know if that's good or bad.
It's okay.
The only running I do is
I think it's-
running my mouth. What?
I think that's like a 10-minute and 30-second mile. Each mile. Yeah. My fastest mile was 6-minute 18 downhill.
That's close to mine too,
Yeah.
but that was when I was
Yeah.
7th grade. So
Yeah.
does that count?
Downhill being chased by the running coach. Yeah. So aside from that, those habits,
Would you say the pandemic has helped you be more on your feet? I feel like it's made me less reliant on plans because you can't have plans
you can't have plans.
because you're always waiting for the next directive or
Yeah.
announcement or whatever.
Here's one of those things. Here's one of the things I need to share. I need to confess. After leaving ministry, I really had a hard time letting go. And this year, I let go. I let go.
How do you mean?
Well, I didn't worry about how the ministry was going because I trusted that it was going well. I didn't worry that, how's it going, because I knew that they were doing things.
So you mean internally? you weren't?
Internally.
Mhm.
I wasn't worried anymore. And I didn't ask any more questions. I used to ask questions like, so how are they doing? How are you doing? What do you need?
Mhm.
So I really wasn't letting go. And I think that was hindering the current leaders from really, really doing things. So I let go, not coming back. But yeah, so those are, when I did that, I was like,
Flip your hair, Arnell.
flip my hair. My eyebrow. What was that? I was teasing my daughter, and it's like, it's like my brows are fleek. On fleek. Yeah.
That's not-
Sorry.
I don't
that
think
was
that's
awkward.
a thing anymore.
Yeah, it's not funny.
It's bussin'.
No.
Is what the kids tell me now.
What is it?
Bussin'.
Yeah, whatever. So
No
so
cap,
those are some
no
of
cap.
no cap. So did we do first impressions?
We did not do first impressions. What were your first?
What
was
were your first impression of
No,
me?
what was your
What
first
was your
impression of me?
You first.
Ladies first, huh?
Oh.
My first impression of you. This would be fun if I just make fun of him, but I'm actually going to be sincere. Sorry. Yeah, no, I he gave a talk for the Valentine's night. It was about, I would gather, it was love or something, something those young adult ministers would
Actually,
assign.
I have that talk right here. Actually, I don't. I throw away all my talks.
That would have been gold. I could have gave it to me. It could have been the next Catholic.dad.
You are going to be the next Catholic.dad one day. By the way, did I tell you?
What?
I think I told you earlier in my Catholic dad joke. The one that if you're not a dad and you're telling Catholic dad jokes,
Yeah.
I have issues with that because that would be called a faux pas.
So yeah, at the time I thought he was funny. He actually said a lot of funny jokes in his talk. And what was really, this is the thing, Catholics are not good at laughing. They're just not. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because we're taught to be very serious at Mass. I don't know what it is. We're good at Catholic guilt, but we are not good at laughing. And I thought his jokes was actually genuinely funny. I don't know what he said, but I do think it was hilarious. And no one was laughing. And then he was very insightful in the areas where he needed to be insightful, serious in the portion of the talk needed to be serious. And you can tell, and he was explaining a little bit of what he did in ministry, and you could tell that he was able to give talks from different age groups. And as someone that's kind of trying to do that, I think it's a special talent to be able to talk to young people, to young adults, to adults.
That was my first time.
I don't know if that was a joke or not, but you couldn't tell if it was a joke. Because he just had that natural gift of just like connecting people, like almost like this connected me. So that was my first impression of you. And then I was like, oh, also the side note is like, I need to get this guy to guest speak for my ministry because
I'm gonna give him more to drink so that it loosens the tongue and says more nice things about me.
He just doesn't want to save this bottle. What was your impression of me this on weekend?
Well, I thought someone brought their kid to the meeting.
This was before my beard.
Yeah, I literally was like, I thought this was young adults.
Did you actually even notice I was there?
Yeah, because you were like a little kid.
Genuinely,
I thought you were a little kid. I thought you were like one of the high schoolers that was there, and maybe he's 17, and
Wait, so when I followed you, you thought it was like the team?
No, I didn't know that was you.
Oh, so you
until
made
you
the
told me,
later?
Yeah, it's like, and I was intimidated. I was intimidated that you asked, because every time that I'm asked to give talks, I am so intimidated because it's like something about being a volunteer youth minister. You're always intimidated by paid ministers because they're like, oh, they're paid. I mean, like, they know their stuff. And it's
Really?
like, yeah, it's like, talk to any volunteer youth ministers. I'm like, we're doing this on the side. We got real jobs.
Oh, you mean like, so you have to make sure you go by the book and all that kind of stuff?
It's like,
okay, then I relate that because I was a
it
volunteer for like 8 years.
Yeah, it was really hard for me, and so every time that Edgardo asked me, hey, can you give a talk? And I'm like, can't you find anyone else? So I always felt that. I was like, he couldn't find anyone else. I was like, fine, because if I say no, then who's he going to ask? Because you're the bottom of the barrel. It's like none of the other paid youth ministers. And then he said, and then when he tells you, it's like, hey, can you pick up your check? I'm like, check? I mean, it's like, I have to pay to give talks?
Did that to me too.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, it's okay. It's like, no, we have to pay. I was like, no, it's okay. And I never do. I never like receiving payment because it's just so much more fun for me to share the faith than to receive payment, because I know that working in ministry, it's hard. So use that money for something, because I'm going to donate it back to you anyways. So just make sure that you use it. Don't put it back in your budget, but you use it for somebody else, because we were so blessed by people like Zulema. I remember she would donate. We would go to Steubenville every year, and she would donate like $200. I'm like, I thought she was independently wealthy. I was like, what the heck? And then she would deliver it. It would be like an envelope full of 20s and 10s, and I'm like, okay, so you collected this. I'm like, I'm so appreciative. Make sure that the teens who got that benefit always said thank you. But yeah, first impression at that talk, I thought you were a kid, and then when you contacted me, and
I was like the coordinator,
and she was like, he's a coordinator. He wants to ask me to give a talk. I'm like, what do I say? It's like, and here's the hard thing for you guys who minister to your own parish, and you're given a talk to a completely different group of people. It's intimidating. And what I always like to do is I always like to ask the youth ministers, so what are the demographics of your community? It's like, what are they? What are the demographics? How are they economically? Because it does differ on how you approach them. And I always say, I'm always amazed at speakers who can just come to a retreat and just give their talk and go. I can't do that. I'm like, I have to be there and like watch every single one and like how their reaction is. And that's how I usually gauge my talk. It's never a written talk. It's like, okay, well, Johnny over there said this, I'm gonna feed off of that.
So does your talk kind of change? Because obviously you
It
have
does.
at least you have a general way of where you're gonna go.
I post it.
because I've gotten times where I've given a talk and I like mention like a word, like
Yeah.
a term, and there's just like blank faces and they're like, okay, well, I guess we're taking 5 minutes and explaining this
Yeah.
first, you know, and it just goes a whole nother door based off of the reactions. Because I just gave a talk at Sacred Heart, and that was the first talk back in person and
Mhm.
with the mask, and they're like, I can't get any reactions from them because I can't see their face. It was very,
That's when the Catholic dad joke comes in.
they did not, the Catholics are not good at laughing.
They're not good at laughing.
Well, my jokes are just not funny. One of
Yeah.
those.
I think my very first talk, but aside from that, I found you intimidating.
You said this before
I did.
vaguely, but I don't know what that means. 'Cause
Well,
people tell me this and I don't know.
I did because you came off really, really professional, with like high expectations, and I'm like, oh crap, like he wants a serious talk. He doesn't want a Catholic.dad talk that just goes off script. I mean, he sent me a script.
I sent you notes.
He sent me a script.
I sent you notes. I
A
sent you
script.
I
I'm like,
sent you
oh
points.
my goodness, he's gonna have like those times. He's gonna have like those banners. Like you got 5 minutes, 4 minutes,
Yeah,
3
I would
minutes,
do
2
that.
minutes. He told me, we have to make sure we're on time because we have to be out of this facility
Oh,
at this time. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know me. Anyone who knows me, you give me 10 minutes, I'll take 30. And I'm like, I'm like, if you've ever heard a podcast, I think Sister Josephine's podcast, you heard where I just ended up like, okay, we're done. And you said, did you just end that abruptly?
yeah,
Like,
you do not do that.
it's like, yes, I did, because I wanted to honor Sister Josephine's time. I could have
Mm-hmm.
talked to that woman forever,
Yeah.
forever. I was like, I was just so infatuated with her.
You know what's weird?
Actually, I think I'm in love with Sister Josephine.
You know what's weird is multiple people have told me that I am intimidated.
You are intimidating.
I am intimidated by myself considering I'm
Yeah.
so awkward.
Yeah, I think you project a level of professionalism, that
Does
it's
it match my
almost,
face?
well, no, it does, because you want to make sure things are done well, because you're doing it, someone's looking over you. Whereas as me, who's older, even when someone's looking over me, I'm like, oh well, I got God over you, so I got that.
I do think it is an age thing.
Yeah.
You're right. I think because
So
I'm younger, so I feel it. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like at work. It's like when someone says, you can get written up for that. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So you're not worried about that? It's like, why? Um, but I think it is an age thing. I think it's something that it is what it is, and things will happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love serving. I just love serving, and I love messing with people. I think that's just the way I am. But that was my first impression, and I was completely wondering, how do I say no after I said yes?
Were
And
you
then-
really?
And then you know what happened? God answered. What happened?
COVID-19.
COVID-19 hit. Coronavirus. Guess where his church is at?
Next to Corona.
It's Corona. They call it Eastvale. It's Corona.
Next to Corona.
Corona.
But this is the
Norco.
this is
Corona.
the real question.
19.
That was your first impression. What do you think of me now?
Oh man. Here's the thing I tell about Tony. I do talk a lot about Tony to a lot of people. I'm impressed. Yeah. I'm impressed that you got Bethany to say yes. Pump after your big faux pas. Shall we talk about that? We won't talk about that. I love roasting Tony, and anyone who can take my roasting, I know is a good person, because
What?
because they stay. Yeah. But anyways, I think you have a really good head on your shoulders. I have to say that you're probably one of those people that at your age, I really do admire you. I admire your ability to serve, to be diligent. And one of the words that I use a lot at work is resilient. You have that resilience about you that no matter what and how difficult it is, no matter how defeated you are, and I know when you're defeated, you don't answer your DMs. You still come back the next day with an even crazier, cringy post. And it's like, you know what? That's him. And I would say it's like he doesn't need to be somebody else aside from himself because that's what people see. Because there's so many youth ministers out there who are trying to be that Catholic youth minister, that image of a Catholic youth minister. You know, it's like when with me, I was like trying to be like Mark Hart. I'd never be like Mark Hart, and people are like, "Who's Mark Hart?" Yeah, he's gotten old.
I love Mark Hart.
But you know, it's kind of like there's a Tony, and that is his style, and you either like it or you don't like it. But here's the thing with Tony: if you didn't like Tony, definitely grows on you like a bunion. Maybe that's not a good example.
I thought it was on point.
Yeah, a bunion, because
Mhm.
it's always there. You can't see it.
Yeah.
You feel it.
Yeah.
It's a pain in your foot. Just kidding, Tony. But I do. I really admire you because, one, you're taller than I thought.
Thank you, folks.
You have a gorgeous girlfriend. So, guys, if you haven't seen his significant other,
Don't see her.
you'd be
Just
jealous
mine.
too. Jealous. And you'd say to yourself, how did a guy like Tony get a girl like that?
I ask myself that every day.
I ask myself that every day.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
It was like the Catholic.dad and Mini Tangled comedy hour.
When you were giving me advice about it, you're just like, he's not gonna get a yes.
Yeah, no, I think when I was giving you advice, I was yelling at you. So you did what?
Why would you?
Why
ask?
would you? What? You go back over there and open that door.
Oh my gosh.
All the boys I've ever walked with knows that. Catholic.dad says, be a gentleman. Even when the girl says no, they mean yes. Open the door for them. It's our alarm. Yeah. So, what else? First impressions? Last impressions?
Last impressions.
Lasting impressions?
He says off the wall things. And every second I'm just like, what's like, I literally, Bethany's seen it. His name comes up on my phone and my immediate reaction is, uh-oh. And I'm not kidding. That's not a joke. That's just my genuine reaction.
As ideas come up.
He's tagged me on pictures of nuns. He's tagged me. What was one of the first podcast? I sent him a picture of a headshot of me because, again, being professional and intimidating, apparently. That's what I sent him, and he picks the most ridiculous photo of me and pastes that on the podcast episode picture.
Upside down. You're
upside down. Yeah. Hoarding faith.
Hoarding faith.
TP.
I love that. Yeah, TP. Total Providence. That's right. It's not Tony Pimentel. It's total providence. Yeah, I love this this relationship that developed through COVID. I think we have to give credit to where credit is due, not to COVID, but with Edgardo from the diocese. Because if it wasn't for him who said, "Can you give a talk at the high desert?" Actually, I think he said, I did not realize where the high desert was, by the way. I did not know I had to drive over the pass. And I'm driving at the night, and this guy is blind. But if it wasn't for Edgardo, I don't think I would have met you.
Shout out to him.
Shout out to Edgardo. So he's doing great things in the diocese.
And we're gonna be teaching together.
Yeah.
He put us together.
Right.
So shout out to him again.
But I thought we were going to be teaching together. I think
baby steps.
Yeah, I think that would have been great if wouldn't you
Edgardo
like seeing you and me just going off each other teaching this? What course is that?
The Hulk.
Look at that.
Right there.
Right there. Oops. Renewing the vision. renewing the vision. That's what we're going to be teaching for what is it? What's the course?
I have no idea.
Basic something specialization.
I'm just kidding.
Basic youth specialization course. If you haven't registered, register. I think we're giving a talk on it somewhere. But
yeah,
it would be cool if we just did this.
It would be really
because
cool.
it's on Zoom.
Yeah.
I think we should.
We just play this episode. We just play a podcast.
We'll just bounce things off each other. I think Edgardo is like going to be okay with it. Plus, if he doesn't know, then he wouldn't. We don't tell him. He wouldn't be able to say no.
He's kidding. He's kidding, Edgardo.
Sometimes I'm kidding. But yeah, I've used Tony to bounce off ideas. There's a couple of people that I bounce off ideas to, and the one thing that about Tony is that he never says no. He just doesn't respond.
That's not true.
The great thing though is Tony will say, "Okay, what do we need to do?"
That is true.
Yeah, and then we do it.
He doesn't have an answer sometimes.
So that's why we call him Producer Tony, because he'll produce every single time. And thank you for putting that on YouTube. I don't know what to say about that.
You are very welcome.
I have no idea how to do that. I still don't know how to do that.
Oh, final lasting impression. This guy does so much for the diocese, for one another. Like he practices what he preaches, and that's why I wanted to be a part of the podcast. Because I love this mission. It's the same reason why I wanted to do Zoom Around the World with Mary, is because I truly firmly believe that the church should be viewed as universal, and I think both projects does that. We're connecting people through even difficult topics and saying, hey, we can find middle ground. We could hear each other out. We are still brothers and sisters in Christ that should love one another. Zoom Around the World, all over around the world, we are still connected. Even though we're far apart, even though that we're distant, social distance right now, we're still connected. And I think that's what, I think if I'm going to eat some cheese right now and be very cheesy, I think that's why God has connected us, because I've always wanted to see that, projects like that. When I was younger as a teen, and I didn't see that. I found out that the Catholic universal, this concept, I never heard of that before, and I was like, well, how do I see that? Why do I just see Saint so and so and Holy so and so there, and Our Lady of so and so, and the San Bernardino diocese and this diocese, and why is there such division? What's a way for us to get connected? And I think you do a great job of that in our diocese.
I think thank you for that. But I think the reason why we came up with that is because we have the freedom to do that because of the podcast. It's not owned by the diocese, and it's also, although we try to point everything towards the diocese and the missions of the diocese, we have the ability to be free to tackle anything. And when the diocese wants to do things, we try to do that. And that's the same thing with Zoom Around the World and Disconnected. I actually don't plan anything, so it's always seeds that and allowing people to interpret the mission of what we're doing and take it to where they want to take it, and then own it. Well, I love this little image, the painting that one of the young adults did, and it's just basically that one little guy there planting a seed and then allowing everyone to grow. And that's the reason why I bought that really expensive shovel. As an art piece from Big Bear. If anyone sees that, it's Tony looking at it. But it's a shovel, and it's a tree, and it's just, what I saw in that is that you're basically a person that just shovels things from one place to the next. But that shovel allows trees to grow and bear fruit, and it's the image that's on there. That's just how I saw it. You're just trying to be a root for something, and whatever grows from that, hopefully it grows towards heaven, because and the fruit that those trees bear, it's not for you, it's for other people. You've done your job, you've accomplished your task, and your job is not to seek the rewards or the fruits of your labor. It's the labor that is worthwhile, not the fruit. The fruit will come. It's the labor and the love of that labor and the work in that. That is what a priest from the low desert said, from St. Louis in the low desert. He said that's what's called la fe cansa. Faith makes you weak. Yeah. Tired. Faith makes you tired. And that's true. If your faith is not exhausting you, then you're not doing it right. But it's a good exhaustion. It's kind of like when you, after a retreat or after working out or after digging up your backyard, you're like, I am exhausted. That feels good. That feels good. So I'm going to sleep well tonight. So that's the whole mission, is just la fe cansa. It's planting seeds, praying that it bears fruit in others. You know, you're not the tree. You're just that seed that hopefully flourishes and grows. That's all it is. And any parting words, Tony?
No, that just made me cry.
Oh, dear. So, double ring. So, cheers. Ding. So, folks, thanks for staying with us in this podcast and our very first comeback in-person podcast. I think I like this.
I like this a lot more better.
I like this a lot better. And I think, you know what, doing this, I think we can even do this a lot more, just us, instead of having even guests, because it is sometimes a little bit time consuming to find guests, and just talking about topics.
Sure.
But I've had fun. Hopefully you guys had fun. If you didn't have fun, you can always watch Mana Food for Thought.
You can blame Tony.
Blame Tony. Please follow Tony at Mini Tangle on his YouTube channel, Soar Youth Ministry. Follow us on Disconnected Podcast on any of your favorite podcast platform. We're also on YouTube. I don't know where. I think it's called Disconnected
Podcast.
Yeah. Share us with your friends. Always give us a review on any of those podcast platforms. It helps with the algorithms for help people find us. And you know what? One of the greatest things that you can do for us, if you like us, share us with your friends. Post it somewhere. Just share it. If it resonated with you, it's gonna resonate with somebody else. So that's all. Hopefully you meet our mission, which is just to connect people. Email us at Catholic.dad50. Again, we need you as a patron. $1 per month can go a long way. So help support the mission to bring young people closer to God. And remember, as always, live a life of holiness. We'll be praying for you. Please pray for us. And most importantly, be blessed and
be third.
Be third.
Different points of view and highs and lows, a new perspective everywhere you go. Open up your mind and drown out the noise of different generations of new girls and boys. So sit back and relax, this is Catholic Podcast. Don't overreact if these thoughts are abstract. When it's hosted by Catholic.dad, who knows what's gonna happen?
Hey, what's up, fam?
Different points of view and highs and lows, a new perspective everywhere you go. Open up your mind and drown out the noise and see if this connected.
What's up, fam? To connect generations and situations about faith, life, and whatever comes along the way.
Spec runaway thoughts like a runaway train. Break into conversation like links of a chain. Make a Hail Mary pass, hope this connects. Have a question for a guest, put it to rest. Live a life of holiness, lead by example. Follow at Catholic.dad and Mini Tangled. Christ leads our way, he's the good shepherd. Pray for one another, be blessed and be third. Different points of view and highs and lows, a new perspective everywhere you go. Open up your mind and drown out the noise and see if this connected.
Is there like a salute, or so should we do like a salute, like a yeah,
Justin
Hey
Bieber
Tony,
post.
as a last parting thing,
Mhm.
this was podcast room was like my mom's room,
Mhm.
but we had a squatter living in our house a couple of days ago, and she wouldn't move out, and she was a yoga instructor. And the thing was, every time I asked her to leave, she would just say, "Namaste." Bye, folks. Different points of views. All right, so we're gonna stop the record.
Just sit back and relax. This cat, the podcast. No need to.
We're gonna keep that one.